Hello, dear ones. My name is Miramichelle, and I love walking slowly within nature.
I want to go.
Let's go.
Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the forest. Hello, beloveds. Welcome to the Woke Wisdom Podcast. This is Alexandra Loves, and I am with my furry cosmic guardians, Cyrus and Bisu, joyfully coming to you from the moon garden where wisdom is nourished, awakening is embraced, and fun is encouraged. I am so excited to welcome my guest today, but before I do that, please know that I produce and edit this podcast myself, and I am not a professional at anything that has to do with technology. So there might be some bumps. And there's definitely a little commotion where Bisu turned off my screen during the interview and I tried to quietly fix it. But as time goes on, I will get better at this. Thank you for evolving with us on this ride. Also, if you resonate with what you find on this podcast, please help me spread this message far and wide by sharing this podcast with friends online or subscribing at Apple Podcasts or leaving shiny reviews. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to do some clicks and make that happen. Join me in welcoming my guest, Miramichelle. Let's welcome her with a deep breath. Miramichelle has a BA in Communications and Psychology and Quantum Shamanic Healing, founder of the Sacred Female Rising Institute, the author of the upcoming book, Sacred-ize Your Life, The Ancient Art of Ceremony Meets the Contemporary Age, creator of the Cleanse Site Project and co-participant in creation to Codes for a Healthy Earth. She is a medicine woman, a shamanic healer. My favorite thing about this woman right here is that when she speaks to me, and I've witnessed when she speaks to others, that just in the speaking, it feels empowering. I feel bigger, brighter. I feel seen. And so that is my favorite thing about her, about you, Miramichelle. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, darling.
I wanted to welcome you in by asking just a couple of questions. Maybe they're a little silly, but I'm really interested to see what you think about if you could be an animal or a non-human for a while. What would you be and why?
Oh, I love this question. It's just a shame I only have one choice in this moment. But yeah, I'd love our animal and insect relatives. Yeah, I chose, when I felt into this, the Black Panther.
Wow.
Yeah, the Black Panther, the female Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
This primal creature who moves mostly alone through the depths of information and intelligence of nature. She fascinates me. And so I chose her because of the way that she assists us in releasing our density that we carry within our body mind. And how seemingly every step she takes is guided and crafted with her own vibration. So yes, it's her, Mama Yagua.
Mama Yagua.
Mama.
Where you are right now, are there Black Panthers there?
Yes. Not right here. You'd have to go up a few hours into the more wild nature, let's say, because she doesn't really want to be around humans, right?
Right.
She's doing her own thing. He is not impressed by us.
I mean, really? I understand.
we have as a species, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
A lot
Just
of
trying to
cleaning
help
up.
us with that.
Beautiful. I could totally see you as that. I feel like from the time I met you that you're definitely in sort of this like beautiful, I don't know what the right word, like nature state. Like you're always, I've always thought of you as like a creature. That's what it is. Like this creature sort of observing and taking it all in. And when you interact and when you interact and sort of weave your magic into the conversation, because it's all been conversation. I've never met you in person.
That's true.
When you weave in, it just comes from such a place of nature wisdom and sort of cosmic wisdom, and also feels it feels like accessible. It doesn't feel like you're above or in a place where people can't or I can't understand. It feels like you're just opening it out for what and the energy that you're carrying. It feels like it's open to embrace and to be interacted with. And it's a I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but it's a very welcome and like powerful feeling.
Well, thank you. I hope so. Yeah, that's my aim, to make it accessible, because it is for all of us. And just because I, as a spirit human, have chosen at a young time in my life to connect with these forces, these energies, and I have a lot of experience with that. Doesn't mean that everyone can't, because we can, because it's actually what we are.
That's beautiful. We are spirits. So, is there something significant that you've discovered about yourself in this past year that you'd like to share with us?
A lot of things. I'm constantly waxing, weaving. Yeah. But I would say that quite a profound awakening for me was my brother's passing, right? This year, well, within the last year, about 8 months ago. And if I didn't know it before, which I did in many ways, and that's the thing with self-growth. That's the thing with realization, is that we become more and more realized through steps and parts and pieces of our psyche, of our spirits. It doesn't happen all at once, like slam, because we just be like, okay, I can leave now.
Yeah.
We got it all at once. We have all these little lovely cracks and crevices that start to move and start to shine. That when my brother's soul decided to leave at this unscripted time for the rest of us,
right,
I realized in such a deep embodied way that we don't die, actually. Not the way that we have been, trained to believe or understand what that passage is. No, we don't. We just change form. And while it was, probably one of the most extremely painful experiences of my life so far, it was one of the most enlightening and heart opening experiences, right? And so, great awakening comes when we allow it. And that was mine. We're just changing form.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing that, and my blessings to you and your family on this part of the journey.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you think that when you talk about changing form, if you had said that to me 20 years ago, I'd be like, what? Morph into, such a science fiction nerd. Like morph into another person, grow another arm,
Right.
what does that mean? Like, do you think that this is something that happens? Because I think we agree that awakening happens, multiple times in our life, right? And so, do you think that there's something that, I feel like there's a significant thing that happens, like morphing that happens when someone who's close to us leaves this world. My grandmother recently just died just a few months ago, and she was sort of like, she was the matriarch, right? And recently I started noticing myself get way older, like the rate of my age felt like much faster. Like my birthday just happened. I was like, God, this year feels like I got way older in this, like not my body, but just inside, like something inside me changed. I'm now the second generation down in my family.
That's it. That's it.
Right?
It. Yeah.
Like it changes how I interact with other people. And I'm like, is this that morphing? Am I who I was before? That's how I experienced it. Like, could you share just a little bit more, if it's okay with you, about what you noticed, like sort of tangibly, that that was speaking to that morphing that we're talking about?
Well, first I would like to, yes, for sure. And thank you for the question. I have a sharing on what you spoke on, and then I'll move into a bit more personal cosmic experience. When our elders pass, they leave like a position open.
Yeah.
Right. And then they leave that position. Right. The energy of that position is still there. Right. That they've created that space, all what they've given in their lifetime, all of their experiences. And I mean all, every single micro moment. And that shifts the structure of the family. And each of the family members take a part of that, depending upon, who's there. And so you did, my darling, because that space was part of your connection with your grandmother anyway. And that's something she was gifting you. Yeah. Is that part of her experience, that part of her wisdom, her knowing. And that's why this feeling of being older somewhere in your field, right? Or in your feelings sometimes, or maybe your response or your behavior. Yeah, what a great gift.
Yeah, it feels like it.
It is so. It is so. Yeah. And for myself, it was when I began to come over the shock. Right, because it's shocking. It's shocking to lose someone you love so much, like that, from one day to the next. I began to feel his consciousness around me. Right, and well, I am also trained in this, right. So I'm used to feeling other people's relatives around them. 1 or 2 degrees of separation, it's okay, but then you have your own. And it becomes more embodied, as I said before. It definitely becomes awakened in you, the the depth and the profundity of who we are.
Mm.
And it always amazes me how real that is. And also how much in our collective societies we don't get to that, really.
Mm.
And I think that is something that's shifting now more so, like in bigger steps.
Yes.
In much bigger steps. And it's essentially dealing with the mystery of our world, right? And we will see a great change in that in the coming years, and it's already definitely begun.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all can feel that.
Yeah, it feels like a great awakening.
Indeed.
Wow.
So, in a sense, it has brought me where it has, brought these depths of all kinds, a whole spectrum of human emotions and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It also gave so much strength and light and also relief in a sense, where I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. No worries. I can step through and leave this body.
Mm-hmm.
And coming into, I've had deep journeys where I've left my body and stopped breathing and just traveled around the universe. I know that may sound kind of odd, but it's real, actually. But Mira, please come back. Please come. The women, Mira, start breathing again. Please come back. And I'm like, complete peace and light here. What do you mean? However you frame it, we're all going to make that experience, right? And I think it's a very blessed, wonderful experience.
Yeah. I feel like I'm, in the last 3 or 4 years, I have noticed two major, there's lots of dynamics, but two major things that is going on around me with people around me. I have a group of people who are like, yeah, this is intense, but like, let's do it. It's time. It's the awakening. It's, I have stuff I'm working on, people helping people around me, my community, all this stuff. And like, this is what it is. Let's do it. Right. Let's be in it. And I also have a group, a much smaller group around me. And I think this represents a lot of the population. And that's freak out, fear, control, subjecting self to cult-like behavior, anger, division, old traumas coming up and having no idea what to do about it. And I find myself very thankful to be surrounded by, learning from, and to be a being that has some readiness for what is going on right now. And as people keep awakening, I'm just like, I can see how this is terrifying to a part of the population. I could see how it could feel strange when you, Miramichelle, says, yeah, I stopped breathing, I left my body and went around on the universe. I could see how the idea that we are more, or that we can do more, and that we are these, beings of light, we can actually feel it and see it. And we're hearing more examples on podcasts and on the internet. And we're getting that's evidence of that's who we are. It must feel almost apocalyptic for some people, and yet I'm just so grateful for the intensity of these times. I'm just like, we're building the new world, and it's aligned with who we really are.
That's it, sister. Yes. And of course, it's always scary, awakening.
Yeah.
It is. Because we humans are sort of constructed, you know, in a certain way to try to circumnavigate change.
Yeah.
We're constructed to build our reality, right? So we can put order in the chaos and experience life, that it doesn't get too overwhelming for us, and what we keep. And what we keep are our experiences, our patterns, our programs, right? Our musings on whatever level is going on there. Yeah. So, change? What do you mean? I gotta change. You know, what the? But yes. That is the nature of our being. Actually, that is the nature of who we really are, and to open our arms to change is the best thing we can. Number one, teach ourselves, and number two, teach and assist our children.
Yeah.
Right. And get down to it, because it's not going to change anytime soon.
Right.
It's going to become more intense. Right. So if we look at our world, what's happening in our world, and just take it down to the self process. Right. And when we are in that moment where it is time to shift our consciousness for the betterment of ourselves and our family and our world, right?
Yeah.
And we're in that tiny little moment where we have to flip the switch and we have to change something fundamental inside, right? And we know it. We basically know it, more or less. Some folks are very clear and they get to work. They have tools. They have community. They have some self-knowledge, right? And others are a little bit in there, and there's a foot in the monotony of life kind of world. Shouldn't be that way. I don't really need that. But because they have one foot in this allowance space of allowing, then something will come. Someone will come. Some experience will come to assist them. And with that assistance, they can move on with their own guidance to bring them to places where they can face that change and transform, transmute, and grow up. Grow up, become more mature, define your communication skills, watch your behavior and be responsible and accountable. Dedicate yourself to 10 to 20 minutes of meditation every day, or simply stillness. Simply watch your breath and look at a branch on a tree for 10 minutes and feel or just feel the silence. Watch what happens and move on. And these skills that you derive through these experiences will assist you greatly in life. But it's our job to build them. No one's going to come along and go, hey, guess what? I got a nice package for you. And I'm going to just drop that in your inbox and you're going to be able to do it overnight, The fact is, procuring those skills are part of the journey of empowerment themselves. So practice. It's very important in these times to arm yourself. Arm yourselves.
It's a spiritual war. Get your factions together.
With consciousness. I just heard myself say, arm yourself. What happened there? No, it's all good. No, it is like that. Like, where's your spiritual tool belt? Right. And sometimes you turn a corner. I certainly have in the last year, and I've armed myself with many skills and tools and embodied them and taught them and on. And I would just sat there and went, I don't know what to do now. And I'm like, everything is gone. There's not a tool I want to use. I feel like there's nothing here except oblivion. Okay. So what am I going to do now? right? I can be destructive, or I can be constructive, or I can just be.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could just sit. Sometimes you gotta.
So that's sit. It. Just be. Just be. Don't move. Breathe and keep breathing, and watch it. Watch it. And then, get up and do something for yourself. Just get up and do something. Simple thing. Sweep the floor. Breathe and move. Yeah.
I like that earlier you said watch a branch on a tree for 10 minutes. One of the things that I work with kids a lot, and one of the things that I noticed with the newer generations is, they're here. I believe that every generation is born with these like the evolved gifts. We're always evolving. We're always recreating ourselves. And one of the things that I noticed was that we have all the stimulation. We have the internet. We have we have our foods are overstimulating with all sorts of strange chemicals, and the toys. I've noticed, like, as I've gotten older, I look at kids' toys. They're becoming less organic, more. Sometimes some stuff is I've seen kind of awesome and complex and things that kids can engage with that I don't think I ever could have as a kid. I don't think I would have been interested in it. But mostly I'm noticing that there is, in a lot of households, like, kids don't just go outside and just hang. There's always like, gotta do something, gotta do something, gotta do something, gotta do something. And I remember as a child, and this is what I'm trying to bring into the world right now for some kids. I remember sitting and watching rain for like hours. I remember that was normal. Like, I remember sitting even with my friends. Sometimes we'd sit. I grew up in a place where the rain was warm sometimes. So sometimes we'd just sit in the mud. We'd be playing, and then it'd rain down, warm rain on us, and we would just sit and like in silence for a long time. And that's something that I feel like in our overstimulated age right now, I think, all the tools that you mentioned are important, but the sitting and the allowing, being in silence and allowing nature to talk to you, dance with you while you allow it in, is something that is so significant for all of us to reconnect to, especially children. Because I feel like it's just so easy to overstimulate people to a point of forgetting who they are.
Yes, that's what's been going on. Yes, 100% with you on that, sister. Right? Children get it so quickly, because children's energy bodies haven't forgotten of this connection. And even to call it a connection is somehow watering it down.
Right.
Because it is beyond that. It is one and the same. Let us say, nature and ourselves. We are the same animals. We are the same creatures. By the way, it was a compliment. You called me a creature before. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I have an experience to share about that. We went down south, and we were in South America, and we went to a certain part of the jungle that's like a jungle and a forest in one. So it's not like full jungle. For a long hike, like 3.5, 4 hours. And when I got in there, just, before I go in, I kneeled down, I put my hands on the earth, and I asked for permission to enter. And I leave an offering of gratitude. And I say my name and why I'm coming there, and like that. And slowly walking through this density of foliage, there was a little path, a little trail, so to say. Sometimes not, sometimes yes. My body became so electric, beyond connection. Like my body knew, my feet knew where to place every step, that I wouldn't slip or fall, what tree to hang on as I hoisted myself over or something. And I just started going like, and I could feel it. I could feel the energy go, this plane with me, And I was up front with the guide who was a young man, the same age as my sons, right? And I was right behind him almost every step. And my man and my sons were like, what's happening? She's outrunning us times two. I was just became the creature, what I am, they were like, whoa, jumping up, hanging there. And
I have visions of Avatar right now. I'm like thinking of you, some flying dragon comes and you like take your curly hair and connect it.
Yeah. Like this. Oh, it was so exciting. I felt so home. I felt so home. And I slipped once. My feet went in deep mud. I had to pull them out. I went in the river, slipped on the rock, on my hip, and I just jumped up and went, okay, that was interesting. Yeah, unexpected things happen, right? And it was all in the medicine of this. And of course, there's been years that I've been coming home into this vibration, right? Yeah. However, I know it is akin to who we are, what we are. We're born of pure nature. We're born of this planet, right? And of course, this has been one of the greatest pains in our hearts and devastation, how we have conducted ourselves through generations to our home, to our relatives here. So obviously, we're now in the consciousness, we now hold the consciousness to correct our behavior and move forward with a different sense of knowing and belonging and reverence. And I feel that it doesn't really begin with corporation funded movements, right? It really begins with each and every one of us on an individual, personal, and spiritual experience. And from that way, it's so interesting for me that we've had movements of freedom and consciousness throughout our human civilization. If you know your history, you will know this. And the last 250 to 500 years have shown us this also, right? And sometimes I go to demonstrations, etc., to bring my energy there. And we immediately are starting off, the first steps are immediately already getting so watered down in my understanding of how the depth of who we are, diluted, because we are not allowing this whole huge piece of our big power to be present there as we assemble.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say before anyone speaks, and everybody's smart and everyone has some wonderful things to say, but you know what? I don't care. I don't care how smart you are, or what good phrases or statistics you have to say in front of, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. What I want to see is how your heart is connected. Right. I want to see if you can stand there and just put your hand on your heart and breathe and be present in your authentic being and welcome everyone that's standing there for the same reason to do the same. You're not standing on that podium because you're any better, you're any smarter than any other human there. It's a we thing.
Yeah.
Not an I'm talking thing now and you're all listening. No, we're all talking through you. We, the masses that care about our families and our personal freedom, that care about what structures we live within, that it's so deeply personal, right? And it's also so extremely, extremely crucial that we get these value systems in alignment with who we are. And so stand there and breathe and hold the space with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people at one time, and focus on the one goal, which is not being against. I mean, we've played that for a long time, this being against thing. We don't need to.
Yeah.
We can say, this is how we want to live on planet Earth with each other, and focus on that. You can get that squared down to 2 sentences. I know you can. 2 or 3. I know you can. And have everyone focus on the same feeling, thought, and be in that power. And then begin to say a few words and begin the walk and begin the process, right? That's what I'm missing in what is being demonstrated. Yeah.
I love that you bring up like how this is so beautiful, because I was working with an amazing sacred activist is the way I think of her. And she was also a huge academic, like was a doctor or is a doctor and very academic. But one of the many beautiful things about her was she also is very connected to the earth, and that's and her indigenous ways. And that's where she always starts. And that's the most important through line and the energy of whatever she's doing, no matter if she's speaking at the UN or online or with whoever. And that's where it ends as well. And one of the things I learned from her, and you're sort of validating this right now, is, I myself am not intellectual. And I know there's a lot of people who are like me. We feel really deeply. We see certain truths, and we're here to bring forth wisdom. We have duties, and some of us initiations, and whatever it is to help heal, to help bring people back to nature, to connect people to ancestry, and whatever our medicine is. And I found myself getting really intimidated when I was in circles or panels or interviews or whatever it was with people who were very, very academic and smart. And had great things to say, but I was feeling, because of the system around us that favors that high intellectual, smart way of being, as like, this is the top, this is what's right, this is who you listen to, these are who call the shots, these are the gatekeepers, right? And so I felt myself very intimidated, and I started feeling, the more I was doing like summits and just having more eyes on me, started feeling like less than, like I don't belong in the arena where we're trying to build a new world or save a new earth or help heal people. And so I think it's your message, what you're saying here. She had said that to me. She said, you know what, like, if you don't belong in those arenas, and if you feel like you're not supposed to talk, what about all these people that that live near the Nile, that are all these medicine people? Are they not supposed to talk because they didn't go to university or even like grade school or whatever in our systems? She's giving me all these examples. I was like, oh my God, you're so right. Like it's just like a simple truth. And so I really appreciate you bringing this into our conversation, because this is also one of the reasons that I started this podcast. This wisdom that comes through the heart and the spirit is in every single one of us. And it's vital for all of us to be able to connect with our hearts and hold space with each other. And it's vital, and it's as if not more important than being smart.
Yeah.
As my friend would say, pontificating knowledge.
Pontificate to you. Yes, sister. Yeah. Ahe, ashe. Blessed be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're learning right now. That's what we're learning on this planet. We need all of the strengths of these different humans to be in the circle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no hierarchy in the circle.
Mm-hmm.
You're not valued as better because you have a specific gift to be able to bring in that quality of knowledge, that quality of intellect into the room. Wow, we appreciate it. And it is one cog on the wheel, let's say. Now, this one, the next person that's sitting next to that wonderful one, can sense space, can hold space, can ground space like the mountain. I so appreciate that value system that you were born into, that your spirit took you to that gift. So needed in that circle.
Yeah.
Right. And on and on and on and on. And what we've had too much is that our value system have been so pointed towards survival and having enough, and then having more than enough, and then having more than enough. Right. That we've put certain personality types and we've created our system on that. And intellectual types that can go really fast. Right. When we need to go slow sometimes, they can go really fast to put these different points of information together, to go into the machine, to create that, to make more and more and more and more and more. And meanwhile, we're doing what we're doing with the earth and with each other. So we know this. There have been many studies on diversity, and having a diverse group of humans creates more imagination, creativity, viabilities for so many different ways to experience, right? And we're beginning to get that. We just don't know how to do it yet. We know how to do it in a personal setting, like within circles or smaller communities, right? Or maybe school districts.
Right.
However, we don't know how yet, but I guess we will figure that out to bring it into the broader system, you know? And I must say, this might be an unpopular thing to say, but I'll just say it because I don't mind being unpopular. As you can see that I just jump on and off social media, like just have no consistency there.
I think it comes with your walk, Miramichelle, and I fully personally understand.
But you know, sometimes the form of which we define our world, and the form also comes in words. Right. And that this is such an incredible thing to introspect. It's lowering the reverence and respect for each other because we put each other in categories. Now, some of that will be necessary that the world can flow, right?
Right. Yes.
Of course. But it's not necessary for us to embody those definitions or to become overly identified with them, right? So this whole movement of having to define categories, and then purchase it, pay it, fund it.
Yeah.
Right. We have to be careful. We have to be careful with that. Because it will suffocate. It will suffocate something within us. And I've been watching the suffocations going on within people. And I'm like, wait just a minute. Really? No, I'm sorry. Just go get that inner child book and start doing some exercises before you speak to me. Because this is a pain body moving through, and we all have them.
Yeah.
And it is painful. It's almost devastating, and it's terrifying also sometimes to look in those places.
And I know because so many people, especially women, come to you to heal those things, right?
Right.
Personally. And that actually brings me to my next question, because I know you are a masterful creatrix. What are you up to these days? What are you creating these days that's aligned with your spirit? I feel like you're going to say everything, because this is your focus, is part of your focus is being in alignment with your spirit. But
right,
I'm wondering if there's anything that's of note or tremendous in your life right now that you're creating or working on that's aligned with your spirit.
Thank you for the question, sister. Yeah, there's, I just really started to work again.
Mm-hmm.
After this great time of transformation with myself and my family. So, about a year ago, Spirit Guidance said to me to do a 5-part free series on the Great Awakening. Right. And that's what's coming. That will come. And right after that, there will be a work called Liberation Tools for the Great Awakening. And that's a 5-part series also. And I look very much forward to diving into that. Right now, I have a work running called the Monthly Medicine Webinar. And it runs like every 3 months. So it will start again and we'll start again. That's full. And it's running. It's wonderful work. I love it. It's just for women.
Mm-hmm.
And a new one will begin in late March. And it runs for 11 weeks. So it's every other week. So that one's running, and it's a wonder, because always such a blessing to be in circle with consciousness and humans that are showing up for that within themselves and to support each other in the circle. So it's... and there's another exciting thing happening, which is more, it's all material, but I am making a space for healing tent.
Ooh.
I knew you would like that one.
A tent.
It's so gorgeous, darling.
I love tent.
I think we need a new bumper sticker. You had me at tent.
Please put that on a sticker. Please.
I love it. I really love it. Yeah. So I'm here in these new surroundings, and it just seemed like the doors started to become open, that some humans just smelled it and felt it. My work, and just started coming up to me and asking me, and I'm like, well, how do you know? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's starting to happen now, because as a medicine woman walking, a shaman and seer, when I come to a new place, I don't just set up camp, put my sign outside and flag and say, I'm open for business.
Yeah.
I need to arrive. Spirit needs to arrive. I need to see what powers live here. Right? What some of the energetic story is, narrative that's going here. And then I need to meet some of those powers and ask the big mountain for permission to bring my medicine there.
Yes.
And leave my offering. Just, you said something earlier. I think that what you wrote to me about the magic and the mystery of nature.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so I wanted to meet that. And then after a few months, I'm like, oh yeah, it starts now. I'm here now. I'm really here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. And as soon as I had that cognition, also in the body, boom, then people started coming out of the woodwork and asking me, and I'm like, wow, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, this is what you're talking about when you say, have you met the real face of nature?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's it. The real face of nature is, there's a nature on the surface. We can go for a nice walk in the forest and feel refreshed. We can walk on the beach and feel the ions surging through, our body or electricity. And yeah, that's amazing. Right. And then there's another step in. And that is when our consciousness and nature's consciousness begin to dance, begin to communicate in that dance.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something completely other. That's what I call like a nature immersion. And that's when she begins to open and show us who she is and how she feels. Right. And you can experience that when you see that nature moves with you. Like when you're in ceremony, right? And the clouds change with you.
Yeah.
The birds fly in different ways and routes with you, and so on and so forth. And some people would call that an anomaly, an anomaly. Yeah. But actually, we do know, we have experienced greatly on our earth, that this is simply a part of the wisdom and the mystery of our planet and ourselves. So no wonder you love tents. Because you got something there, right? As it goes deeper, we will re-experience this. And this is what I find so exciting and so fascinating for our times.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are leaving that old structure, right? Because it doesn't suit us anymore. It's too constraining and restrictive for us to blossom in. And as we return to nature, right? As we return into a certain vibration, which our ancestors used to carry, because it's in the heartbeat, it's in the tempo. Boom, 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 boom. And our feelers open quite effortlessly, actually. Our feelers open and our field opens. And then nature guides us. Nature always wants, actually, to protect us in a very real way. But nature is not just. Don't you think for 1 second that nature is just. You will be fooling yourselves. Right? Don't do that. She has her own laws. Don't expect her to go by ours. Our human ones. Maybe we'll get closer with our universal ones. We're talking to that creatrix, right? And then, however, given your state of energetic reverence in the moment, that you commune with her, and she will take you on a ride. Yes. That force, that intelligence. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating for me. When I see birds of just complete complexity in their armament, or their wonderful colors, right? And you're like, what created that?
Yeah.
Like, or the insects, like, how? What level of creativity?
Limitless.
limitless. And that's who we are. So from this constrained place, this restrictive place where we're like bursting at the seams to experience something more than the status quo.
Mm.
Literally, even if you don't realize you're doing it unconsciously. You know, what many people do is they turn it around and they want to create something destructive.
Right.
Because they can't get to that feeling, that place, which is all connected in there. And you're flowing and you're laughing and you're going, whoa, at the same time that you are there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in and out of that. And the more you're in, the more you can be in, right? And the more you're out, the more you stay out and you long for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So people get destructive and ugly and bitter and resentful.
And also I think there's a grief. There's waves of grief I started seeing a couple of years ago, since we've been asked to stay in houses in this era that we're in. And I think that what you're speaking about, that knowing, like, your spirit inside knows that you can have access to this nature, your nature, right? That infinite creative thing that's like that's who you really are, trying to burst out, right? Wanting to get out, wanting to express and be out of this system. I think there's this feeling of very human, feeling of grief that is sweeping over people because of that. Yes, people are dying, and yes, we are being faced with histories and all sorts of things that humans do and are and experience that are very real, that we've been putting a veil over for a long time. So of course a grief of an old way of life, but I think that the grief is more tied into what you're talking about right now.
The separation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we are longing, deeply, deeply, profoundly longing to meet that vibration within ourselves. Because it is absolutely our natural state of being. It doesn't mean that we go around like, Lulu Bell, constantly go, oh, I am part of the light. And that's fun sometimes, but we're not. Many people who don't experience it enough think that that's what it's going to look like. No, it's also, it could be with you through your different ways of expressing or forming your person. It is that place inside that always stays connected, and you are aware of its existence, its vibration with you.
Yeah.
Right. And so we are on the way. That's what I would love to say. And I feel an emotional wave coming through right now because I have such a deep love and empathy for our planet and our humanity. And look, can you hear that little bird? He's like, oh, she was serenading us.
These birds have been agreeing with you the whole time.
Haven't they?
Yes.
Like, listen to that thing right now.
Great moments when you were saying something that's like, whoa, and the birds in the back going, yeah. What she said.
Go on, hark. And I know it's tough because it's always tough for, like we talked about at the beginning, to change. And this is a whole system. And we've been slotted. This is like destiny cords, right? For the awakening now. And there's a force that doesn't want that to happen. But there's always a force that doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
When you are going through a big change in your life, when you're getting married, when you're getting divorced, when you're having children, when you're going through your graduation, your initiation, promotion, demotion, whatever, there's always that force that's like, maybe you're not good enough. Or maybe you can't do it. Maybe you're too this or too that, or not enough this or not. You know what? So what? There are always going to be those forces that don't want the next level of experience.
Yeah. This brings me to a really interesting question that I've been asking myself, and the question is, what do you think, in my mind, when you're talking about those forces that are resistant to the evolution, to opening, right? And sometimes that's people don't want the change and will fight the change. And the way I see it, that creates conditions to disease and fear and pain. And the question I've been asking recently is, what do we do with our sick? And by sick, I mean those who maybe it's we might say that it's a personality disorder, or we might say that it's, those who are in society who are sort of committed and frequently causing pain to others, destroying land, abusing people, and it's consistent. And that's what I mean by sick, without putting too many labels on it. And so I wonder what you think about that, because we've been talking about this opportunity in front of us of opening, the healing, becoming who we are. And there is that, you just mentioned the resistance, and those that, there are those who won't go, that won't do this. And so I wonder what you think about that group of people.
Oh, first and foremost, they are on their journey.
Mm-hmm.
They are our sisters and brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And on one level, we look at that. Okay, they're playing their role,
right,
in the bigger picture, right? Because we are living in duality, right? So if that button gets sparked way over there, and there's an effect over here of someone that grows more into their light because of that force.
Right. Yeah.
However, I feel that to a very large degree, and large percentage, let's say, people, us human beings, act like that because there is something that hurts deeper inside. There's not been a person I've come across yet that just came to the planet to be a little shit, and so and disturb greatly other humans and hurt nature and themselves while they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a destructive force inside, and it wants to be seen. That's why it's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
Right. And we all have that. No one is immune to being a little shit sometimes, right? And so, but some of us just have the abilities to not inflict it onto others and not become completely destructive. However, many people are very nice in the outside world, and they get home, they're real big shits to their family members. That's not fun.
Yeah.
And they're covering it up, making that look nice and pretty. But okay, that's another part of it, right? The big mask wearing. However, I did have a lucid dream recently, and I do this sometimes, well, many times, if I want to look for, I want to ask a question, and I would like to receive an answer from somewhere, from myself, or just from the moment, right? And I saw a creation, and I know so many of you included, Alexandra, and many of you out there who are listening have had this same feeling, thought, right? And I saw a place where the transformation of what we call healthcare, right? And I saw like a flower, and in the middle, the middle of the flower is actually the face part of the flower, right? And then you have all these wonderful, I'm thinking more like in the realms of a daisy or a chamomile flower, right?
Yeah.
And then you have these wonderful blossoms, leaves, blossoms actually all around. Mm. And that's what I saw, potentiality of really what healthcare starts on the energetic. You know, your body has to go along quite far for those energetic imbalances to become physiological imbalances, right? And I saw this whole picture, you know, of what that would look like and how people can work together. And all of a sudden, this hospital or healthcare, you had sort of smaller branches of like places where you get treatments done or cutting or, you know, this sort of internal med and things like this, because all these other petals of the flower were taken care before that ever came to be.
Oh,
right.
Yes, I can see.
So you need to go and see the energy healer specialist there in this beautiful petal. A lot of nature around their part and around the whole sort of presentation of this healing center for life healing. And you just all different forms of ways which to heal. There's no right way, actually. You know, I sometimes have experience with my students when they say, oh, I found this great new seminar, this great new webinar, and it's got the tool in it. I'm like, there's no the tool. Sorry to tell you, it doesn't exist, but it exists for you.
Yes.
And that's what's cool. Go for it. You know, and so we have so many different forms of which we can put our consciousness through to heal. But the form is just helping us to get really connected to the consciousness. It's not about the form. It's about the allowance of the consciousness to be present, right? So don't get too addicted to form. Throw it away once in a while.
Right.
A new form jacket. Put that on, you know, and try that out with your consciousness. So I feel with those people that are so deeply wounded and hurt inside, right? If we're working in this sector of healing, then we're working with these people, not these people. Hey, you people, these people, those people. Us people, right? You know, prayer is powerful. Synchronized prayer is powerful. That's where we can start in the everyday.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just flip on my phone and I flip through the news feed and I arrive on the most horrendous stories, you know, sometimes. And I just put it there and I just go into the energy and I open it and I just send light. And I can feel it having an effect. Feel it. I go, whoa, my body. Let's close the door. You know, of course, before I do that, I ask permission. It's always important to ask permission because maybe their souls, their spirits don't want that.
Yeah.
However, okay. And then just the thinking, and that's what you brought up from the very beginning, is how we frame understanding of those that are so hurt and wounded that they would be more destructive and hurtful to others and nature. And I want to just really harp this out also, is that it's not only people that live in a way that you don't agree with, or you may not want to live yourself in that way, or the people that we may categorize as society, the people on the fringe.
Yeah.
It's not only those people that are destructive with their force. You know, it's people that have a great deal of influence.
Right.
That are doing and creating businesses and also systems that are not of integrity at all. At all. And because they come in a nice fancy car and a nice slick suit, we think that's okay. You know, but it's not. It's not. And they could be the fastest people to change it because they have the resources for changing.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't have the heart for it. But, like having a system of communication in prison systems where you're charging the prisoners 3 or 4 or 5 times more than someone on the outside would pay to reach a family member is not of integrity.
No,
not at all.
Our punitive systems,
it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Continue to feed the cycle.
Yeah.
This is something that, I have very unpopular opinions about, like, the people who are in these situations, those that hurt children, those that murder people, those that are repeat offender, murderers and stuff like that. And I understand that there's this false feeling of justice when those people are put away for life or get put to death, whatever the punitive system is in that area. And it's not real. You can't get real justice for a death. You can't, it's not real justice, because it's what the best our system apparently has to offer at this time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's not really in alignment with nature or spirit. And it completely ignores the cycle of life. And so my unpopular opinion about that is to get, I've said this before, the prison system is not helping us. And the immediate thing that people will think is like, what, they should be out in the streets. I'm like, no, I haven't said that either, but it's very clear. It's very clear that these systems are just continuing feeding this cycle. So what if we looked at this from a spiritual place? What if we looked at this from a nature place? And what if instead of repeating things like psychopaths can't be cured or somebody cannot be reformed once they've hurt a child, how about focusing on how nature works? And that is a constant creator, a constant healer. How can we start to focus on that? Because ultimately, if we keep feeding the cycles, we'll keep producing people who are sick. So
it's a very tough cycle that we're in, where this is concerned.
Yeah, and I really am inspired by your visualization of when you're talking about the hospital and the petals, the outer the outer petals of hospitals, because that has been a sore spot for me. Our population's interactions with the medical world and the medical world's interaction and pharmaceutical world's interaction with us. And I have personal reasons and also just my observation reasons why I have a lot of challenges and difficulties with the world of Western medicine and pharmaceuticals. And it's a sore spot for me. And a lot of people, and I just see this hatred, and I'm like, I get why. I understand the human reasons why. But ultimately, what do we really want? What are our values that are just intrinsically our primal values as spirit beings in this world? And if we really tap into those, there wouldn't be hatred for something that has maybe caused you pain or done something horrible to your family.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Two things. One is medical system and the pharmaceutical industry, we can call it now, actually are separate.
Right.
Even though the last 25 years, intensely, that has been changing.
Right.
But they actually are and supposed to be separate entities. I've met so many incredible doctors and nurses, such caring individuals. And I feel for them in their practices and their own integrity are pushed because of the pharmaceutical companies' needs to produce and to earn profit. And that's a dangerous mixture of medicines, I would say.
Yeah.
In the old woman medicine way, she would wag her finger and go, not for sale, baby.
And before you go on, I would like to add here that I don't mean to suggest that they are the same things. But I did lump together that there has been pain caused by both of these systems, but not as one, not that they are one entity. So I appreciate that distinction.
Oh, thank you.
And I too know lots of awesome, amazing doctors.
Yes.
They do exist.
My gosh, yes. So many own human stories out there, incredible stories, and some that are just, shit doctors and
it's just like any industry, right?
Terrible doctors out there too, as in any profession. It's really a source of deep frustration, I think, for the American people. On some level, depending on where their consciousnesses are at. And it really does come back to self-responsibility and consciousness when we look at our own health and our own well-being and how we want to age. And do we have time, actually, in our days? We can always make time. But it also comes with a certain level of mastery in life, right? To shift things around. And so many people are not exposed to these options to make the decisions, good decisions for themselves. So they depend and become dependent on these systems that my doctor will know. That way I don't have to think about it and I can get back to doing what I do.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the part of the awakening, because absolutely those systems, I feel, have overstepped their bounds.
Yeah.
And I absolutely feel that science is used and manipulated to justify those choices.
Right.
Right. And there is a whole world of intelligence that can heal, and that could heal alongside allopathic medicine and enlighten each other. Right. But those money monsters, those greedy little shits, that's the only cuss word I'm saying in this podcast is shit. Sorry. But
it's all welcome. It's all welcome.
And they're not only greedy, they're pathetic. I find the pathetic humans.
Word.
Yeah. And so when I look at this, let's call it chamomile, because chamomile is such a wonderful plant for healing. I love working with chamomile. And the middle is like sunshine, right? Yellow. And then you have the petals. Right? You can get bigger chamomiles or really small ones. And I see the middle part of this healing center hospital with all of these different petals or arms, that surrounds this massive place. And it's round or like hexagon shape, and it has different parts because it's really big, and it has like a big garden in there with water flowing, where you could sit in a healthy place for your lungs and by nature, right? And then in another spot coming off the garden, you have the cafeteria. You have a place where you're actually growing vegetables, so you can visit that garden and you can take your zucchini with you to your table, or your cucumber, Yeah. And then there's a whole other place about meeting, the meeting room. This room is like 300 square meters or something, and you're meeting each other. You're meeting your fellow healers, healees. Now, there's this great question: who is the healer and who is the healee? And you come up with the answer that neither consciousness is guiding, both, right? You're just sitting in slightly different positions. So, that for me, it would be a base. Yeah. Would be a foundational base of creating health. What we have is, it's just a few steps up, not in every case, but a few steps up energetically from the barbers of the old days that they used, in old England in the Middle Ages, when you're all right, then is my off with the end, you know. That finger's got a little infection, off with the finger, you know. It really is a cut and paste kind of world, and throwing antibiotics at everything unconsciously. Yeah, this is one arm of many in our world that must shift consciousness.
Yeah. You know, I think that the experience of our industries being challenged to the hilt, especially the medical industry, so, to me, is so clearly nature being like, you know, where does consciousness change come in my life? When there's a consciousness change, when there's a morphing, like we were talking about before, or awakening. Nature, it's very clear to me that nature is the number one player.
Right, it is. And we don't need your smart
car crashes, or it's time for somebody to leave their body, or, you know, something big that very clearly is and is, you know, I just mentioned a few tragic things, but there's also things like, you know, I literally won the lottery a couple of years ago, you know, and it's just this thing that we might call mystery, but I'm like, nah, nature like got involved with all the little circuits and the wind and the fire and everything that affects everything that we do, and had this happen, and then something big changes after. And I see that that's what's happening now in so many industries that are breaking down and breaking apart and not able to handle capacities, including especially our medical system. And to me, I feel like this is alignment with what you're saying. It's nature saying like, okay, now's the time. We've reached the end of how you've been doing this, and there really is no going back. I think that's the thing I'm seeing that's very clear. I remember the beginning of, you know, us being asked to stay home or forced to stay home. And there was this idea in some of my groups of friends for, you know, good 6-7 months. I hope we go back to normal. I wish we go back to normal. Can't wait till things go back to normal. And I'm sitting here going, what? Why would we go back? Our normal was not good. Like, just because it might have been good for you sometimes, you know, in your perception, it's not good for everybody, you know. And
it's so cute. I like to go, what? Why? What?
Because sometimes, you know, sometimes I was in a situation where saying that out loud would be too triggering for someone, so I just kept it inside. But now I think I'm noticing that a beginning of a shift of like, wow, it wasn't working. You know, some of us knew that, but there's more people going, yeah, this we were on a knife's edge of, you know, we're hanging on by a thread of the way things were, and maybe what I was perceiving as this being a great thing and, you know, beneficial, maybe it wasn't. Maybe the people or things I believed in that were quote unquote helping, or, you know, whatever, maybe that isn't what was going on. And you know, I feel like these are very in alignment with the steps that people go through when they make a big transformation in their life. And what's the next step? Usually it's like, maybe it could get better after this. Maybe. I feel like that's where we're going.
Wow. I think before we just really lacked the imagination.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Of what could be built beyond this system. I think if you're honest with yourself, and if you intuitively connected, and which we most all are, essentially, you know, percentage-wise, some more than others. But it was obvious we couldn't keep going on the way we have been. We've been the most destructive force on this planet since the Industrial Revolution. For God's sake, wake up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, hello. And where that comes into being, we've had the strongest awakening collectively, numbers-wise. You know, you can go back into the Age of Enlightenment, and you can go back and see many times where we've had these explosions of consciousness on our planet.
Yeah.
But this one that we've been in for the last 75 years has been exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at all the signs and what's been happening. So we're having these two energies going side by side like this. Yes, we have. And now it's time to open that and really work to imagine what could it be?
Yeah.
What would I most love it to be? Can you imagine if like 10 million people or 1 million people tomorrow morning woke up and started dreaming? That one question. And then another and another 1 million and another 1 million, where the field would begin to change.
Yeah.
Don't forget, everything's energy. Energy first. Energy's always first. And I know sometimes we need it proven to us again and again and again and again and again to really start to get it and open our eyes to that, because we become such materialistic beings. And there's nothing wrong with that. We do live in a material world.
Yeah.
In part, is what's right here. We're also trained, actually. We're trained to believe that. Don't forget it. It is also a program.
Yeah.
Okay. However, we have the most incredible opportunity we have ever had, I believe, to shift this. And now here's one thing I want to say, and I feel particularly passionate about this. If you governments and those that say they are leaders of governments think that it is okay to bully, coerce, torture, murder your citizens in the name of your ideology, you are out.
Huzzah.
You are not a leader.
Mm-hmm.
You are not. Okay. You are corporation head, perhaps.
Yeah.
But you are not a true leader, and you are not listening to your ancestors, and you are not listening to your future ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't care. And if you can act in this way, then there's something inherently wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because to use the destructive force to put your fellow citizens into these experiences is not what we as a collective human family want anymore.
Right.
We do not value that misguided way of applying your force to situations to get your way, to meet your bankers and all your buddies. This is not how we originated on this planet. Many people believe, well, we always were warring. You know what? No, really, your history. We were not, actually. We lived in balance with nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I could really go into a lot of scientific analysis there, but
yeah. This
is
is why why this system likes to silence those who do still live with nature. They don't want us to know.
And I do have something to say, added to that, what you had said before. To come into this balance, to protect nature, right? We don't need your smart cities.
Oh God,
our cities,
smart cities.
Our cities are already smart. If you would apply the true genius of human beings, our cities are already way more smart than your smart cities and all your technology. Way more smart. Mm-hmm. Except for those parts have been so suppressed and bastardized by the likes of you hurt and wounded psychopathic personalities. Mm-hmm. It's unreal to think that you are in this position of power, and this is a great myth to dispel right now.
Yes,
for human beings on this planet, we think that if we're in alignment, in alignment with our center and our power, that we will always create good.
Nope.
Oh, no.
There's some very extraordinary, powerfully powerful people who are not doing that.
No. You see, because the universal laws don't exactly work in that way.
Yep.
And the soul, actually, from the soul perspective, the soul vibration doesn't see that's good and that's bad. The soul says that's an experience. There is a resonance.
Yep.
Right. And then it's part of the greater weave. So it's our job to look inside at our own inner monsters, our own inner failings, our own inner devastation, helplessness, loss.
Yeah.
Like Alexandra was saying, grief.
Mm-hmm.
How we're tormented, we have to look and dive into the abyss, go and take a journey down there and have a deep, dark look at ourselves and get back up again.
Yeah.
Right? Or else, all of a sudden you turn the corner and one day you're the monster. You're the one making those decisions. You're the one ordering 1 million ethnic minority into camps.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is why it's getting real. This is why so many people are committing suicide. This is why people are going batshit crazy. Because that journey is not an easy journey. You need support for it. So don't try to take it on your own.
That's why there are medicine women. That's why there are shamans and healers.
Yeah, that's why there are just good friends and say, just hold my hand.
That's why
while I go
friends.
there, please. Yeah, exactly, sister.
Yeah.
And that just rounds us up. We're just sort of rounded, I think, come back around to almost to where we started. Yeah, being in your personal process and having your tools. And realizing that what we're manifesting right now on the planet is like a planetary personal process.
Yes.
And so us doing ours is going to help with that rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Greatly. Every single soul, every single amazing soul, every single soul battery, I sometimes say. or I sometimes say, hey, great spirit, how you doing with your human?
Oh my God.
How's your human been treating you?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, I will be quoting you on that for sure.
Do it.
Oh,
and I look at people and I see their spirit, I see, wow, look at them. Look at that power. Look what's in their field. Look what all their opportunities they've got. And I'm bless. And I bow before each person's spirit that come before me.
Yeah.
If they make it here to mirror us somehow or another.
Yeah.
In whatever place I'm sitting in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just look up and I go, how you doing with your human? How's your human treating you? Because it's what's happening now. This power is becoming more what I would say is transparent, real, connected to our beings.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it feels natural. That feels like what you're saying conceptually is simple. Maybe not simple to create in the current place that we are in right now, but that feels like, that's why we're here. And what you're saying about this battery, I'm clear on that. All of us are born for specific, we're supposed to be here right now. There's no mistakes about any single one of us being here, regardless of how we feel. And you were talking about like, what if 1 million? What if then another million? It doesn't really take much to move far. It's these little adjustments. The challenging part is that belief in, I think, the belief in self of the power and and the purpose of why we're here and how important it is, how important our specific self is in the whole puzzle of the healing of this world. And I'm so grateful for all those that are awakening, all those who are awakening curious, and all of those who are making choices differently than they may have before. Yeah.
Absolutely. Whoa. Wow. Yeah. I had something, I really feel like we're beginning to wind up. So I want to leave that with you.
Yeah.
To bridge what you have just shared.
Yeah.
I felt like to give a couple of points.
Yes, please.
For us all to work on or focus on it. You asked about empowerment, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, what I see is the ultimate empowerment for us, individual humans and collectively. The highest ideal, actually, reality of that is to meet in the heart. Yeah. Is to meet in the heart, from the heart to each other. But to actually feel our hearts, to actually know that we feel our hearts and feel the heart of another, maybe another step to take.
Yeah.
Right. I could stick a quick story in and then continue. I was 26, perhaps, and I was at a very spiritual place, and I was standing there, and in walked a yogi from India at a small ashram at the base of the Himalayas. He'd basically taken a vow of poverty and just traveled around. When people actually sent him a ticket, he would just travel on that ticket they sent him. And he came up to me and he said, "Hello, I'm Yogi Shanti," like this. And I'm like, "Oh, hello, Yogi Shanti." And then he put his arms up like this to hug me. He was a little guy. And so I went to hug him. A little bit of my mind was in a little bit of resistance. I was like, okay, I just came here to meditate and start hugging yogis or I don't know what. Anyway, but I'm an open person. So I said, okay, hug. And he embraced me softly, kind of like in a fatherly way. And all of a sudden, I got short of breath. I was like this. And then all of a sudden, and I just started crying. This tears just started streaming down my face.
Wow.
Like these silent tears. Like, what the hell's going on here? Sorry, what the heck's going on? And I realized that his heart chakra was so open that I had never experienced someone with such an open heart chakra.
Wow.
And it was such a teaching for me. Oh, it was such a teaching. Oh my God. It changed my life. Wow. It changed my life, that one moment. And then he stepped back and he held my hands and he looked in my eyes and he said, "I give you the name Mira, which means devoted one to a loving God." And then I was like, I was, entranced then. I was like, and it goes on. It took me, yeah, exactly. All the cells going, ding, 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 ding. It took me a little while to actually take that on. So that's what I want to say is we're coming to a state of knowing what it feels like to have an open heart chakra.
Yeah.
Right. Many of us think that our hearts are open, and they are in a way, but actually all the information is going through your mind and then coming to your heart.
Yes.
Right. Okay. It's important for us to recognize.
Yeah.
So how can we do this?
Right.
And number one thing is we need to be in a higher resonance than we live daily. And we know what it feels like to be in a higher resonance than we live daily, than our daily life. Get yourself into a space where you can experience that higher resonance for half an hour, for 3 hours, for 20 minutes. I don't know what it is, but circle work is great for that. When you have a facilitator that Doesn't speak too much through the circle. That really lets the energy be there. Okay. And practice mindfulness, meditation. You got to do your inner child work. I'm sorry. Very, very, not so often say gotta, but you gotta. If you really want to be free and liberated and make your own choices, it's really good to know what's sitting in your bag.
Yeah.
Or sitting in the backpack you got on your back, dear ones. There are some things that were incongruent, that were not congruent to your integrity or your sensitivity growing up. And if you think that didn't affect you, well, I'm sorry, I guess it did. And it is created and it is sown part of your personality. Right. And so it's great to go back for freedom, because as you move into relationship, there will be triggers for that. And when they come, they will come hard. Okay. So I would love to talk about the original blueprint and our energy bodies, mind bodies, all these different bodies we have, but that's for another time. Yeah. What I will say is it's if you really want freedom to be the sovereign being you came on the planet with, that's a really great place to help yourself and make choices. Write lists of what your belief systems are. Yeah. Write lists of what your value systems are. Know yourself. And communication skills are a great idea. Teach yourself. Nonviolent communication is a great way to start, and add to it. There's some core principles and guidance there. It doesn't mean that it looks like every person is always Shanti and always walking around like that's not what it's meant to look like. It's meant to look like that you have the possibility of answering someone or to something with your impulse and your integrity without getting pissed off, resentful, bitter, or ugly.
Yes.
That's what it means. Those are real skills and they work. So we've got higher resonance to start feeling what it really feels like to be in the heart. We have, mindfulness, meditation practices, the inner child work. And then these 4 points. Know what stillness is for you. Deep calm in your body, not only in your mind, the deep calm in your body. What does that feel like for you? Write down, I said this, write down your beliefs and values. Know where you are working from. And when you find out something that's not congruent for you, embrace it. It's not bad. It just is the program that was installed. Doesn't make you a bad person. Not at all. We do create our own reality. So figure that one out for yourself. So that will take you out of the victim. And we all have victim consciousness. There's no one hardly on the planet that doesn't have some sort of vibration of victim consciousness that runs through their body mind. Because if you look at the last 1,000 years, every single tribe and every single land or nation has had the oppressor and the oppressed.
Right.
Absolutely. So check out what victim consciousness means for you. It's like over complaining, making excuses, over explaining. These are like little signals for victim consciousness you're holding. And and last but not least, I reharking it, my darlings, communication and curiosity.
Yes, curiosity.
Let's stay curious. Feel ourselves like, why? Like, why is that? Okay, he's saying this and this and this, or she's saying this and this and this, or they're saying this and this and this. Let me feel. Yeah, but why? Well, I got this piece, but that piece, why? Let me go and dig around and find out what that's about.
Yeah.
Don't take things at face value, especially not in these times.
Thank you for that. I was closing my eyes and feeling into it as you were saying it.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's definitely some things for me to engage with there. I mean, all those things, but a couple came up for me that very strongly. And I was like, yes, thank you for the reminder. That's, I'm getting my journal out as soon as we're done recording.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great tip. Let's put that on our list too. Mm-hmm. And then I can type it out and send it to you, and you can stick it somewhere on your website.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Tools for Life. That's journal. Have your little books by you. Mm-hmm. Alexandra just said a great thing right there. Get your little books and write stuff down for yourself.
Yeah, without the fear of judgment too. Because I think that's sometimes one of my challenges, and I have to remind myself, like, this is for me. Nobody else is really here to read this. This is what's very real. It's what my inner child is saying. This is the pain. It might sound selfish or immature or whatever, but it's time to let it out and let it be expressed.
Yes, that's it.
And that's okay to do in some spaces, but especially in a journal.
Do you feel that as you're speaking those words in the last 3-4 minutes, can you feel that energy that came in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is the deep calm that we were referencing before.
Yeah.
And maybe some of you can feel that as you listen now. Because, time is there, but also time is a construction. So you could feel that in your moment, in your here and now moment. Mm.
Thank you for bringing all of that into this space. And I have a couple more questions to end our time here.
Okay.
If Miramichelle showed up, Miramichelle from 15 years ago, and visited you at your dwelling, what wisdom would you share with her right now?
What a great question. I hope all of us who are listening to Alexandra right now answer this question for ourselves. I would say to her, relax. Relax. Because the picture is much bigger than you can imagine. Much bigger. And the game being played is much broader than you can imagine. So you can relax now. Be discerning and kind, but not overly kind. Mm-hmm. Just the kindness that comes from your authentic self. Know your borders. Know your boundaries. It's important, especially for us women, but for all beings.
Yeah.
Right. Watch nature in that. Nature is very clear about her borders and boundaries. Woo-wee. Yeah. And really try to have a good time. Mm-hmm. Enjoy yourself. Just enjoy those moments. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, just do it.
I think she would like that.
I think she would listen to me.
Yes.
That's what I tell her all the time right now. Yeah, I've learned that. I really have.
Mira, what is your blessing for this world? I feel like you've been saying it, but will you tell us again? What's your blessing for this world?
Oof. Believe it or not, and I hope you believe it, took me a little while. We are so loved. We are so, so loved and beloved. Oyate. And we are love. Oh, yeah. Beyond anything else, hold that. Hold that somewhere in your body minds.
Mm-hmm.
Because it simply is. And find your, I wish and I pray and I work to facilitate that we humans will find our roots of belonging, our deep roots of belonging on this earth. Because it's the wound of not belonging, the wound of not being seen, which has caused such a destructive path for us. And in some ways, not always, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not a pessimist. So deep roots of belonging, find them. Let the mother claim you. And you are so loved.
Beautiful. It is a pleasure and an honor to spend this time with you and to also share this with everyone listening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, blessings to your path, and I'm just so grateful for your engagement with life and sharing that with us.
Thank you, my darling. You are an inspiration. You are. And the courage. Yeah. And to all of our sisters and brothers out there, we got this one.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. We got this one, darlings. Let's get to it. So many amazing human beings out there.
Yeah.
That are doing like us all here right now. So, yeah, that's who we are.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Bless be.
Wow. Thank you, Miramichelle. And please come back. Before we all part, please sit back, breathe deep, and receive Connections by Miramichelle.
I was listening to the winds one day, and this message came. And this message said, there was a time on our planet where the mountain would speak to the wind, and the winds would speak to the mountain, and they would inform each other. And there was a time when the rain would speak to the rivers, and the rivers would speak to the rain, and they would inform each other. And there was a time when humans would speak to the mountain, and the winds, and the rains, and the river. And we would be informed by them, and they would be informed by us. And this was an inherent connection. But we've lost this connection. In a very real way, we've lost this connection. You see, because all of nature, like our bodies, like the cells in our bodies, has intelligence.
has a great intelligence. And when we listen to the rains, we can speak with the rains and say, please and thank you if you can rain a little bit more. We need a little bit more rain. And the rains will come, of course. I think you know what I'm saying. I hope that my words carry the resonance of my heart to you. A world in balance is a world at peace. A world at peace is a world in balance. So I feel that every human being can do something more to create peace in this world, and that is first to be in balance with nature. And we don't need a course or a seminar or some sort of training to do that. We just need to show up. We just need to show up. Blessings.
The original and healthy beats for this podcast were created by Quincy Davis. His details are in the show notes. Woke Wisdom podcast episodes are written, hosted, produced, and edited by me, Alexandra Loves. My guests, of course, bring their own wisdom. If you have any questions you want me to answer on the podcast, you can email me at wokewisdompodcast@gmail.com, or even better, text the podcast at 601-301-6974. I would be so grateful if you helped me share these messages far and wide by boosting the podcast with good reviews on Apple Podcasts, or by sharing the episodes with friends and groups and families on social media. That would be so awesome. It just takes a few moments and a few clicks. Click, 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 clickety, click. Be blessed, and I'll see you next week. Oh, one more thing. They told me I needed a disclaimer, so cue the music. Let's do this. The information in all podcast episodes and corresponding materials of the Woke Wisdom podcast with Alexandra Loves are provided for general, informational, and explorative purposes only. It is not professional advice. Any content provided by Alexandra Loves, guests, bloggers, sponsors, or authors are of their own opinion and not intended to defame, slander, or malign any person, place, or thing. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or attached material. Alexandra Loves and her guests are not therapists, counselors, physicians, unless otherwise stated. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast or corresponding materials to treat any mental, physical, or medical condition in either yourself or others. Please seek out appropriate professionals for help. Privacy matters to the Woke Wisdom podcast. People, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast may be changed to protect confidentiality. Through this podcast and corresponding materials, you're able to link to other websites which are not under the control of this podcast or Alexandra Loves. The inclusion of any links does not necessarily imply a recommendation or endorse the views expressed within them. In no event is the Woke Wisdom podcast or Alexandra Loves liable for any loss or damage, including without limitation, indirect or consequential loss or damage, or any loss and damage whatsoever arising from your interaction with this podcast or corresponding materials. This podcast and all corresponding materials should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever. This podcast and all corresponding material is owned and copyrighted by Alexandra Loves. You are welcome to download and play the podcast and share with others for personal use. Please acknowledge the Woke Wisdom podcast with Alexandra Loves as the source of the material. You may not, except without our express written permission, distribute or commercially exploit the content. Email wokewisdompodcast@alexandraloves.com to attain written permission.